I'm with the U.S. Department of Transportation. It's my contact information that's on the slides if you need that, so you don't need to write everything down. Most of the information that I'm providing is be found in our PHMSA.dot.gov website, so you can go in there and look at information, our community stakeholder communications, and all the information on what we do. Just going to run through quickly. I want to give a little overview of PHMSA because I want everybody to understand and make sure everybody knows who we are, what we do, some general inspection information, and then talk a little bit about hazardous liquids inspection and repair requirements. PHMSA is part of the DOT. We're an agency. It's pretty small, about 400 people. We actually have two separate houses. One is the Hazardous Materials, Office of Hazardous Materials, and one is the Office of Pipeline Safety. And we have a little bit of crossover and interaction, but not a lot in those two areas. We have regional offices around the country. We have 5 regions. I'm out of the Central Region office in Kansas City, Missouri. The Hazmat office, regional office, is actually in Chicago, which kind of prevents some of that interaction. But they're moving, at least their director is moving to Kansas City, so we'll have more interaction and stuff. And then a lot of our offices around the country are co-located. The Hazmat and the Office of Pipeline Safety are co-located. Our mission: to protect the people and the environment from the risk inherent in the transportation of hazardous materials by pipeline and other modes of transportation. The Hazmat side covers about 1 million shipments of hazardous material a day that they regulate, how it gets packaged, how it gets transported, that type of thing. Whether it's rail or plane, barge, ship, truck, and then we cover the pipeline side of all of the different materials that move through pipelines. Office of Pipeline Safety, just policy and programs. Our DC stuff covers program development, our standards and rulemaking, engineering research, our state programs, and I think that's important. We have a partnership with most states, and we have different programs that a state can have. In the state of Michigan, the Michigan Public Service Commission is a certified program for intrastate natural gas. That means they have full authority to write the regulations, to do the inspections and do the enforcement on intrastate natural gas. They are also an interstate agent for us, which means they do the inspections on interstate natural gas pipelines in Michigan. And then we cover intrastate liquid lines and interstate liquid lines in Michigan with our inspectors. And we have an inspector located in the Bay City, Saginaw area in a field office there. So we do have an inspector in Michigan. And then field operations side, although some of them are in DC, we have our emergency support and security response. They handle our facility response plans. I talked about earlier that the operator has to submit. They review those, and then they work with us in the field side as far as tabletop and exercises and drills, and get involved with a lot of that. There are regional offices, the 5 regional offices. We also have an office in Alaska. What we're trying to prevent, the same thing you guys are here for, and that's we're trying to prevent those incidents that occur out there, things that cause threats to people or the environment. The fire in the middle of Sissonville, West Virginia, where a pipeline ruptured. On the far side over there, although we don't have anything to do with the picture down in the lower right corner there, that's the BP Horizon well blowout, and just think so. So what are our underlying principles? We've set the regulations, but it's the operator's responsibility to understand and manage the risk for their pipeline. There's roughly 500,000 miles of natural gas and liquid transmission pipelines around the country. So for us to know the details on every section of pipe and what it was made out of and how it was welded and everything is impossible. We'd have to have a significant number of more people than what we have. So it's the operator's responsibility to know their system, know what it was made out of, know what the risks are, know how the seam was put together, where the pipe is, the condition of the pipe, the condition of the land around the pipe, and the threats that go with that section of pipe. We established the minimum safety standards defined by risk practice and risk controls to ensure that the operators perform to these standards. And those standards are, how do you have a safe system? Codes in 49 CFR Part 190 through 199 set out those. 192 specifically for natural gas, 195 specifically for hazardous liquids, and then 194 covers facility response plans, the open 90 requirements that they have to meet. And then we work with the operators to strive to perform, to do more than just meet the bare minimums requirements that are out there. Safety management systems and other things that we move into the process to work with the operators to improve the condition and the inspection of the pipe. That should be 2.6 million rather than 2.1 million. There's 2.1 million of distribution, and then there's another 500,000 of transmission and around. Some of the challenges, like I said, nearly 1 million hazardous material shipments daily by the other modes of transportation. There's a picture of the pipelines. These are just gas and hazardous liquid transmission lines in the nation. So the red is the hazardous liquid, the blue is the natural gas transmission lines in the country. So you can see, and I don't know how many of you know it, when I moved to Michigan 94, I lived in Michigan for about 8 years. And I was amazed that Michigan produced 50% of the gas that was consumed in Michigan was produced in Michigan. And most of it in the northern part of the lower peninsula. And Kalkaska is a real hub for that area, a lot of the production. What we regulate, there's 190,000 miles of hazardous liquid, 300,000 miles of gas transmission, gas gathering, and some liquefied natural gas plants. There's 133 of them in the country that we regulate and oversee. And I just wanted to point out that, you know, as you see, and you look at from 1986 to 2014, there's this increase in natural gas consumption, increase in petroleum product consumption, increase in pipeline mileage. And our goal is to continue to cause this decrease in the spills with environmental consequences and incidents with death and major injuries and all spills, to reduce all spills. So kind of gives you an idea. So we're busy identifying the risks, setting the standards, writing the standards that the operator has to meet. But we also have enforcement and inspection and design and construction and things that we're also looking at as well. We respond to incidents. Although we're not a emergency response organization, we have no environmental responsibility. When the product gets out of the pipeline, we still respond. We're there. I spent 6 weeks in Marshall, Michigan when that spill first happened, working with the incident command and other people in that process. And then we had the inspectors there that were looking at what happened and why did it happen and gathering data and information. We're not just on scene. We have people at the control room. We have people at the operators' facilities, other places gathering data and information as well when we have an incident. Spend time educating system operators, working with emergency responders, the general public and stakeholder meetings, raising awareness, damage prevention efforts to get people to understand 811 and making a phone call before you dig to prevent damage to underground facilities, which is a very important process. Some of our inspections, you know, we spend about 78% of our time is spent in construction and failure investigation, standard inspections, and stakeholder outreach and Some of that stakeholder outreach is inspecting facility response plans, the tabletop exercises and drills. We have people that go to those and inspect and make sure that the operator is exercising following their plan, that they've submitted a plan that's current and that they're exercising according to that plan, following that process that they put together. Inspection enforcement flow chart just kind of gives you an idea of the steps that we go through. Is it state or federal? If it's federal, then we start through the programmatic process of identifying where do we need to be, how do we prioritize the inspections to figure out which ones do we need to do, who do we need to see more often, and based on some different inputs to get it together every year. So every fall we start planning, and in a month or two we'll start planning for next year to figure out who needs to be seen, start running the risk modeling to figure out who's got the greatest risk, what operators need inspections, haven't been inspected recently, where do we need to put our manpower for next year to inspect pipelines. So that process will happen. Types of inspections, I think it's important, and the podium's probably in the way here a little bit, but we have a number of inspections that we've done over the years. We've done our standard inspections, what we call gas transmission, gas distribution, liquid pipelines, get a standard inspection looking at their O&M plan, looking at their corrosion, and looking at their, really? Okay? You didn't give me the extra time. Now wait a minute. Looking at their the processes, the things that they have to do, patrolling, leak survey and all. And then we've got the other standard inspections for natural gas, liquefied natural gas facilities. We have inspection process for breakout tanks, for storage fields. Like I said, the construction, cathodic protection and all falls into that standard inspections. Facility response plans, we're looking at those, looking at are they following? Not only do they have to submit them and get them approved, and then periodically, when changes occur, at least once every 5 years, they have to resubmit. And we have people looking at that, but we're out there annually when they're exercising those plans, looking at as many of those as we can attend. Integrity management started in '01. We started with hazardous liquids, moved to gas transmission in '03, and gas distribution in '12. Operator qualifications, every operator has to have their people qualified to perform the task on their pipeline. So we have regulations that have on putting that together. And then we're moving to an integrated inspection process. Instead of being out there 6 or 8 different times for a week or two, looking at different pieces, we're now integrating all of these inspection processes into one process. So now we have 2 guys out there for 6 or 8 weeks. So I'm not sure we've changed it a lot, but we still spend a lot of time with the operators looking at those things. Integrity management programs, high consequence areas, things that they have to have in their program, risk analysis, accountability, continual program improvement. I think the big key is in hazardous liquids, they have to do an assessment basically every 5 years. They can't exceed 68 months in doing an assessment on a liquid pipeline. If there's a newly identified hazard, a high consequence area, an area that comes along that now becomes a sole source drinking water, or there's some kind of threatened and endangered species or something, then they have a year to put that into their integrity management plan to blend that in. And so they have to meet every year and go over their program and review their program and all the data and information and the things that they're doing to make sure they're addressing all of the integrity issues and threats to that particular segment of pipeline. If they can't meet, operator has to take actions for their integrity. Some of them, if there was an immediate consequence or immediate threat to the pipeline, well, I'll take that back. This is if pressure reductions, if they can't meet the 68 months, they might have to take a pressure reduction on their pipeline, where they have to notify us if they go over 365 days of pressure reduction because of some issue that they've got. They have to notify them of that. Any condition that they have on the pipeline could impair integrity of the pipeline, they have to schedule for remediation and give me this one more slide here. Repair criteria, and it's important. We have conditions in the federal code that say that if they have 80% wall loss on a pipe, if they've had a topside dent, plus wall loss, or a topside dent's anything from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock on a section of the pipe, so on the top side of the pipe, we have requirements of things that they have to do. They have to take immediate action. We have 60-day requirements, so if they have conditions that they find, and then we have 180-day requirements. And people start talking about that. So what happens is the operator runs a tool, and they get data back from the tool, from the people that own the tool, the contractor that works for them. They get an interpretation back from that, and then they have to take and go out and do confirmatory digs to verify the tolerances and that information that they're getting back is appropriate. If it's not appropriate, then they have to, if it says it's a 20% wall loss and it's 30 or 40, then they have to adjust their tool and go back to the contractor and have it recalculated again to evaluate that section of pipeline. So there's some adjustments that have to be made that the operator has to do. So getting that information, coordinating that back and forth. If an operator, the tool contractor finds something that's immediate, then they notify the operator, and then the operator has to start taking action for that. And we are hiring. I'm sorry, I have one final slide. We did in January of 2015, we were appropriated and authorized to have 109 additional personnel inspectors in FEMSA. So we are hiring inspectors, and if you know somebody who's an engineer or a good inspector in the pipeline industry that's interested, certainly we're willing to talk to you.
Thank you very much.